Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Blanca Cobb. Blanca is an internationally recognized body language expert who's been featured on national television shows such as The Steve Harvey Show, Today Show, Megyn Kelly Today, Dr. Oz, Dr. Drew, CNN, Face the Truth, The Doctors, to name a few, as well as publications around the world, such as Cosmopolitan, US Weekly, Elite Daily, Business Insider, Elle, Daily Mail, among others. Blanca shares her expertise weekly on a CBS affiliate, WFMY News 2 in North Carolina. When it comes to corporate America, Blanca's in the relationship business. Her approach to sales is the relationship dynamics between sales professionals and their clients. It's what isn't said but seen that can either drive or stall the sales process. Blanca also turns professionals into rock stars on camera, whether you're booked for a TV segment or making your own videos. She says to not let the small screen of the virtual world fool you. Nonverbal communication is equally important on video calls and on camera when you're making videos to promote yourself, your products, your service, and your company. So without further delay, plug your earphones in, sit back, relax, and let's jump right into this conversation with Blanca. Welcome, Blanca.
Thank you so much. I am excited to be here, Yannick.
Awesome. So could you share a little bit about, what is a body language expert? As I mentioned to you, when I came into the Clubhouse room and I was, so eagerly excited when we connected again, I saw you on a TV show maybe a year and a half ago. Actually, when I checked my archives, the invitation I had sent you was from 2019. And for whatever reason, we just didn't get to synchronize our schedules and connect. And I was like, this lady, I need to interview her because I talk about body language so much in my customer service training. So I couldn't believe there was a body language expert out there, somebody who could now validate all of what I've been saying.
That must be a good feeling, right?
Oh, my goodness. Totally amazing.
Yeah. So what was your question?
So my question is, could you tell us a little bit about what does being a body language expert entail? And where does body language even extend to? I mean, we see it a lot in customer service, and I heard a lot about sales in your bio, but just tell us about what different industries and careers does body language impact? Does it impact everyone? And is it a cultural thing? Just share a little bit about how you got into it and who does it really impact the most?
Great questions. So how I got into it is a long story, so I'll make it short. When I was a little girl, I was always watching body language, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't have a very happy childhood. I was an abused little girl. And what I was doing is I was always watching for signs of when the next beating was going to happen. And those signs were listening to changes in the tone of voice, watching hand movements, just looking at body posture, facial expression. It even got down to footsteps walking down a hall where I could tell whether this person was happy or not happy and what could possibly happen. Mm-hmm. So paying attention, and as you might imagine, I really didn't know who I could trust growing up, and other things happened to me as a child also. And so then when I grew up, I knew I wanted to go into a helping profession, and I ended up getting a master's degree in psychology. And I have studied with heavy hitters, very well-respected professionals in the non-verbal world, as well as the detecting deception world. Mm-hmm. And I've just combined the two, and voila, here I am.
Nice.
So the second part of your question is impact. In industries, every single industry, every facet of life, no matter if it's a personal or professional relationship, an acquaintance, somebody you meet at the bus stop or in the grocery store, it's about body language. When you go into a store and you're both reaching for the same item, you're using body language. You're trying to figure out, well, can I grab this or does that person have it first? So it's everything. When you're on a telephone, when you just hear voice, how that person is talking, how they're projecting their voice. Do they sound happy? Do they sound confused? Do they sound angry? Mm-hmm. It's everything and everywhere body language touches. You cannot communicate without some level of nonverbal communication. And if you think about it, even babies, when they come out of the womb, they do not know how to talk. It takes a while for children to learn how to talk. However, they're communicating, right? They're communicating through their cries, and they stop crying when parents attend to their needs. This is done non-verbally. This isn't done with words. So it's just innate. It's part of who we are.
All right. So basically, body language affects everyone. Now, let's bring it to customer service, Blanca, because as you know, our audience is all about improving the quality of their customers' experience. People have a lot of nuances. You know, body language refers to your facial expressions, as you mentioned. You know, you walk, your hand gesticulations, body movements, anything that can definitely send a signal to someone else that would indicate whether their intention for you or against you. And so, you know, in the Caribbean, I don't know if you've been to the Caribbean before, but, you know, in Jamaica for sure, we're extremely expressive people. And we have this saying locally that says it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. And that comes over, you know, in your body language and your facial expressions and all that kind of stuff. But if you really want to be someone who masters body language, especially if you're a customer-facing person, what are some key things that you would need to do to ensure that when people come into your presence, even before you speak, they feel welcomed?
Oh, that's a great question. So I will start with that part first. It's your body language because people are picking up your vibes. So let's say you're in a bad mood that day and then you try to fake it. You might not get away with it as well as you think you can, because what happens is your body will leak an emotion. You try to hide not feeling well or just not being into work that day, but people are going to be able to see some type of leakage in your face. And what I'm talking about are micro expressions. So this is what it's an involuntary facial expression that you make when you're trying to hide how you're really feeling, but your body, your face is going to leak the true emotion.
Right.
And these micro expressions occur within like 1/50 second. So like within a blink of an eye. And people, they might not be able to recognize exactly what they saw, but they're going to sense it. They're going to intuit and they're going to say, this person isn't quite as happy. Maybe I don't want to talk to them and I'm going to talk to a different customer service rep. So you have to pay attention to your own body language. So you want to have open body language. So what that means is you don't want to stand behind a counter. You stand behind a counter, you actually have a physical object between you and the other person. So subconsciously, people are going to see that as an obstacle. It's so much better when you walk around the counter and it's you and that person face to face and you have a nice big smile on your face as you're welcoming them or asking them how you might be able to help them. You want to make sure that your hands are free. You're not holding any objects when you're initially meeting somebody. And when you're talking, you want to have your hands out in front of you and present. You want your palms up. When you have your palms up, you're sending a nonverbal message that you're being friendly, you're being straightforward, you've got nothing to hide because people can see your palms. So, and then you want to make sure that your body is facing towards them. And this includes your feet. Your feet take you in the direction where you want to go. If your feet are facing towards the customer, that's very welcoming. If your feet are slightly turned either to the right or the left, even though you might have your upper body facing the person, they're still going to perceive that you're not quite into that interaction.
Gotcha. So you want to be aware of, how you're positioned. Do you
Absolutely.
think culture impacts how people, just manage their body language or how they interact?
Absolutely. Yes, there are cultural differences everywhere. Because like you were saying, in Jamaica, there's a certain phrase that you use that may not be, I think you said something like it isn't what you say, but how you say it.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing here, but I think that
you got it right.
Yeah. So let's say there's somebody from a different country, but that's not as common there. So right there, you have a cultural difference. It doesn't make one right and the other wrong. It just makes it that it's different. And in order to understand people and get on people's level, you have to adapt to what they're showing you. And you have to adapt to their culture. That doesn't mean you need to become a cultural expert in their country or their culture. But what it does mean is that you need to have some sensitivity. So the best way to handle this when you're not sure of cultural differences is to meet the person where they are. What this means is, let me give you a good example. What this means is, let's say their energy level or their animation or their excitement is at a level 3. but you're at a level 9. There's a big difference there from a 3 to a 9. So if you come in at a 9 where you're like really excited, hey, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad you walked into the store, blah, 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 blah. And they come in a little lower key, that's going to be a turnoff to them. Because it's almost as if, like, I like to make these analogies to dating. So it's like if somebody comes across too strong, too much, then you're like, you pull back, you're like, whoa, where's this coming from? This is too much, too soon, too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you adapt to the same level that they are, the level 3 in the example that I'm giving you. And then together you can move up that scale. So what that means is that you have the same energy level and the same tone of voice and mannerisms as them. Go down to the level 3. And then as they get comfortable and as they start to get to know you and feel comfortable in any interaction, then you can move up together. But it's something that's done simultaneously and it comes across more natural. And it's very sensitive to where they are. And then they feel understood. And when people feel understood and validated, guess what? They end up liking you more.
Agreed. Now, in terms of the example you gave just now, I remember I was watching a video a few years ago and there was a term that they use called mirroring. Would the example you gave in terms of matching that person as to where they are be similar to mirroring?
Absolutely it is. And so mirroring specifically is talking about like, well, it's essentially the same thing. I just used an example instead of using the word mirroring.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll give you specific examples of mirroring. So let's say you're talking to somebody and you notice that they adjust their watch. Okay. So then a few seconds later, you don't want to do it immediately, but a few seconds later, then you might adjust the sleeve of your shirt. So it's that similarity. And the reason mirroring works so well is because, and I always say this, like, likes, like. So let me say that again. Like, likes, like. What that means is people like people who are similar to them. And so when people feel that you're similar to them, and it's what I was talking about earlier, when they feel like you get them, you understand them, you validate them, then they can't help but like you. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel like there's a commonality between the two of you. So mirroring absolutely does work. So for example, let me give you another example. Let's say they lean on the counter. Then you want to wait a few seconds, and then you might want to lean on a chair if a chair is nearby, if you're standing up. But the thing is, and I keep talking about that timing, you want to wait a few seconds, because if it's like they do something, you do something immediately after, that comes across as creepy. And you don't want to come across creepy and inauthentic. That's why you wait a few seconds. And someone might go, wait a second, Blanca, you're talking about creepy and inauthentic. If I'm mirroring, isn't that action really creepy and inauthentic? No, it isn't. At first, it's going to feel that way. But you have to think about your intent. Your intent is to make this person feel comfortable. Your intent is to establish rapport with this person. Your intent is to help develop trust in this customer service situation. So if the intent is pure, then it isn't creepy or inauthentic.
Right.
It might feel that way at first. So it's like with any skill. The more you do it, the better you get, the more comfortable you are with it.
That is true. So Blanca, we spoke about, just how it is that you can adjust yourself as it relates to body language. In terms of, let's say, for example, you are trying to improve on your body language. What do you think of all the different components? You would have mentioned examples of hand gesticulations, walking, how you move your hands, facial expression. If you were to maybe give a weighting to the different types of body language, which do you think is the most important and can have the greatest impact on an interaction?
Fabulous question. And it isn't one over the other. It's all of them in unison. Because if you think about it, our body works together. Our muscles are all interconnected in our body, even though you may not realize it. You might have a shoulder pain that's really connected to a lower back problem. All muscles are connected. So it's the same thing with body language. If you want to just focus on facial expressions and you want to come across as more engaging and happy, so you have a smile on your face, but then you have tension in your shoulders, that's a disconnect.
True.
That's not going to work. People are going to think that face, that face that you're making of being happy is fake and phony. You know
Mm-hmm.
what they're going to focus on? The tension in your shoulders. People are going to believe the negative before they believe the positive. That's why it all needs to work together as a symphony of body language.
So then, in order for it to work as a symphony, what are some of the things that you would need to do? Maybe exercise, eat properly. I mean, surround yourself with positive things. Do those things help to enhance your body language in a positive way?
It helps enhance you as a person
Mm-hmm.
because it keeps you healthy, right? It keeps your energy up when you're taking care of your body. So that helps exude positive body language. The best thing that you can do is pay attention to your own body language. And although we do not walk around with a mirror with us and we can look at ourselves all the time when we're interacting, what you do have is how somebody responds to you. That's your mirror. So if you think you're actually being happy and you're being engaging and you're being friendly, but yet somebody isn't responding in kind,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to think a couple of things. Is it the vibes that you're putting out, or maybe there's something that's off for them in that given moment?
Yeah. Amazing.
So you have to think about that. And another tip that I would have for people is to record yourself. Seriously, put the camera, you can use your phone, put it off to the side, have a conversation, practice a pitch, practice how you might interact with somebody, and then go back and watch it. Now, the only problem with that when you're doing it by yourself, you might come across a little stiff or awkward on film or on camera because you're really talking to yourself. So then practice with a friend or family member or somebody. So that way it's more of a real interaction. And then you can go ahead and eliminate any awkwardness or stiffness that you might see on the replay.
Right. And this would be
But really
applicable for
practicing,
salespeople as well.
yes, for anybody. For anybody when you're dealing with the public. Speakers, before you go on stage, you practice in video. I mean, that's how I coach people who want to be speakers. I mean, I'm evaluating them, right? Pointing out what they're doing great, areas that they need to work on, and then and I give them suggestions on how to make themselves better. But then they also see themselves and they do self-evaluation. That's really important to be self-aware of yourself.
Yeah.
Exceedingly important. That gives you insight.
True.
And then you'll see things that you don't even realize
Mm-hmm.
about yourself because we don't walk around with a camera. I mean, excuse me, we don't walk around with a mirror
Mm-hmm.
staring at ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So video
Amazing.
really helps.
Yeah, it does. And it's good too because like one of the recommendations I give to participants, especially those who have to deal with customers daily but they need to remember to smile, but and they have the ability to afford having a mirror at their desk. I recommend, especially if they work in a call center, for example, that they put a mirror at their desk that helps them to remind them that for each caller they need to maintain a pleasant countenance or at least sound welcoming enough, because you may come off the phone with someone who just really rattled you completely, but it doesn't mean that that energy from that telephone call should transfer into the next call, because that person doesn't know what you're coming out of and they're expecting somebody welcoming and approachable.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up because if there is a bad call, and let's say they're going to be jumping on the next call, what they should do is stand up, move around, shake it off, like physically shake it off. Even
Yeah.
if they have a next call coming in, sit in the chair and just move. Because what you're doing is you're getting out of that negative energy that you're feeling at the moment. It's a way just to make it dissipate, just to make it go away before you jump on the next call. And the idea of the mirror is perfect, particularly when you have a tough call. Watch yourself. Because what happens is you may not even realize that you're rolling your eyes
That's so
as you're
true.
helping the person. Yeah,
That's
you
so
may not
true.
realize that you're giving a look of disgust, and disgust is if you can imagine smelling something that's like rotting, that just smells bad, like super bad, like diarrhea or vomit, and your nose automatically crinkles. That is a look of disgust. And a lot of people will do that. Oh, and another facial expression people make that you can see yourself in it. And if you're not in a very pleasant conversation with somebody and you're watching yourself in the mirror, a look of contempt. And the look of contempt is the only facial expression that's unilateral, that occurs on one side. And what it looks like is just the one corner of your mouth. It slightly goes up. And what that means is moral superiority. So imagine if you know you're right as the customer service rep, and this person who you're talking to, a customer, is really giving you a hard time, you might make that look of contempt. And that is something that you should be aware of. And the reason it's so important is because the negativity that you're feeling in this conversation can carry over to the next person. And also, if this is how you respond when someone's giving you a hard time or when something isn't going well, then you're going to be transferring that body language, those facial expressions, when you're meeting someone in real life. And then they can really see it.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. Oh, loving this conversation. Okay, Blanca, could you share with us maybe what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
Oh, right now? Yes, it's Clubhouse. I am not kidding. So for those who are not familiar with Clubhouse, it's only available right now for iOS. This is an audio app. This is where you can connect with people and make connections. And you are actually talking. You're in a room with a lot of other people from all around the world that have similar interests, or people who are learning about a new topic, and you're talking, just like you and I are talking right now. It's fascinating. I cannot tell you how many people I have met that I would never have met otherwise. I live on the East Coast in the United States. So people from the West Coast all the way to abroad. It is fascinating. I love it. I absolutely love it. I cannot imagine not having that right now.
Okay. So for those of our listeners,
think about it, Unique. This is how you and I reconnected.
True.
It was through the Clubhouse app.
True. Very true. It's a really, really good app, but it's been my experience that you have to manage yourself with it, because it can run away and your day gets gets caught up in Clubhouse and you don't actually achieve your goals. So one of the things I've done to manage myself with it is I've turned off notifications, because it can be extremely distracting. Every time there's a new room that opens up and it's there notifying my phone, and I'm doing something and I stop and I go, oh, this topic looks interesting, and then you just get derailed completely. But I do agree with you. It's a wonderful application. Whoever was the brainchild of it, in terms of having audio where people could go in and have live conversations, you can definitely learn and gain a lot of knowledge and insight. And as you said, connect with people who you'd have never had the opportunity to connect with otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, could you share maybe one or two books that have had the biggest impact on you, Blanca? It could be a book that you read many years ago, or maybe something you read recently that has really impacted you.
That's a great question. And for me, it's not a particular book. It is the genre of the book. So for example, this is a particular book. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss is an excellent book. He is a former FBI, a hostage negotiator. And he has written a book, I should say, about how to negotiate. And I love it because it's something that it's a skill that we all need. So for genres, for me, it's like understanding people. So psychological books that really help you understand people and help you understand yourself.
Yeah.
I think that is such an important skill to have, because we will always have people in our lives. We will have people who come into our lives and stay, and we will have people who leave our lives. But every touch point, every person who we have a relationship, whether it's personal or professional, makes an impact on us. And we can learn from every one of those interactions and relationships.
Amazing.
And so that's why I go back to the genre. So there isn't a particular book. It's just the subject.
Got you. All right. Now, Blanca, could you share with us maybe one thing that's going on in your life right now, something that you're really excited about? It could be something that you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
Yes. And I'm really excited to share that I am putting the polishing touches on an ebook. Emotions Behind the Mask is the title of this ebook. And it is because are wearing masks now, right? Everyone is wearing masks. That how do you read facial expressions when the majority of your face is covered by a mask?
True.
So it's important because we're going to continue to wear masks, and it looks like, it might be until the next year, into 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you still make a connection? How can you still understand some nonverbals of somebody else in our social distancing world? It is so important, nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. And then I've created a program, how to help people be rock stars on camera, whether they're booked for a TV segment or whether they're creating their own videos for video marketing for themselves, their products, their services, or their companies.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are two big things that I have going that I love. I'm very passionate about people having better lives. Again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, I didn't have a very happy childhood or adolescence. And so it's important for me that people have healthy relationships, that they can get along and know who to trust and who has their back. Mm-hmm. People need happiness. Part of your happiness in life are the people who you select to be in your life.
Yeah.
And that's where I can make a big difference for people.
Amazing. All right. So our listeners would have listened to this episode and they're like, this lady is fantastic. How can we get in touch with her? So could you tell our listeners where they could find you online if they wanted to connect with you further?
Absolutely. I would be delighted. And I hope your listeners do make contact with me. You can pretty much find me anywhere at Blanca Cobb. You can go to my website, blancacobb.com. You can find me on Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Blanca Cobb.
Got it. Okay. So we'll have the links to all of those places that Blanca hangs out that you guys can connect with her further. Okay, Blanca, before we wrap our episodes up, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? It kind of helps to maybe refocus you or just get you back on track if you got derailed.
Yes. You're stronger than you know. You are stronger than you know.
Nice.
You need to, and in times when we have extreme stress, when we think, why am I even getting up in the morning? Because it's going to be the same day. Nothing has changed. You have a lot of stress. You have children or spouses, or you're not who are counting on you, or you're not sure what's going to happen with your job. When you feel like you just want to get into the corner and cry, that's where you have to really pull deep within yourself and understand you're stronger than you know. Get out of bed. You can do this even when you feel the whole world is against you. You're stronger than you know.
All right. Brilliant. So Blanca, thank you so much for jumping on this podcast with us today. You shared so many great insights. I mean, I would talk with you for another hour for sure, just to, delve more into the body language topic. We could probably, get you back on as a guest, or maybe we could do another platform. Maybe we could do a room together where we could have more engaging conversation around it. That's an idea. Maybe I may do my own room and invite you in as one of our moderator and speakers. That way we could get more lively discussion around it, because as I said, it's definitely a topic that I spend a lot of time on as it relates to customer service. We train different industries, retail, financial, telecommunications, and people are constantly talking about, the body language part. Oh, I don't like how she looked at me, or I can't believe she said that, or she was doing that when I walked in. She didn't even stop what she was doing. She totally ignored me. And, just things like that we give mention to a lot. And I think it would be great to, as you said, understand yourself a little bit more, which would definitely help to enhance the quality of the relationships that you have whether personally or professionally. So we really appreciate you taking time to jump on today and share all of those great wisdom and nuggets that you've gained over the years.
You are welcome. And Unique, I would like to pose that we do both. I'm happy to come back as a guest on your podcast, and I'm happy to join you on Clubhouse.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I will definitely be reaching back out to you after this. So, guys, I just want to remind you that you can hop on Facebook and join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community, and feel free to follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. Thank you for listening to Navigating the Customer Experience. If you'd like to connect with us even more, please feel free to hop onto Facebook and join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. And of course, feel free to follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.